at our worst, we have to focus on meaningful experiences. Through an appreciative inquiry approach, both benefactors and development officers will generate energy between them, resulting in better co-created futures for our organizations and the people whom we serve. I think job hopping would lessen, the nobility of our work would be palpable and efficacious. In such a system, we would be more like the moral trainers that Michael O'Neill once described our work. That changed how I did everything at work. That fundraisers were actually moral trainers. And Sheldon Garber, if you've been along in this business long enough, he called us agents of change. If we raise our sights and refocus our energies, we will find remarkable results that are impactful and patently obvious to philanthropists. They will fund new models of doing our work and ways to replicate and scale those models. They will, as the newly engaged philanthropists demonstrate, bring all of their resources to bear on solving significant societal issues. Those resources will include their business acumen, talents in raising capital, insights and experience in the marketplace, financial resources, and more importantly, their commitment. They will be compelled to join us in improving people and the planet. They will know when to apply capital and when a project should be halted if it is ineffectual or inefficient. If you read yesterday, Paul Allen made another $300 million gift to explore the mind. And in that gift, he said there'll be more coming or there'll be less coming, depending if milestones are met. A relationship-based model of the metrics is not only possible, it is essential to our work. Again, Lynn Twist implores us to, quote, renew our sense of a noble calling. Not to settle for mediocrity, but to strive for our own personal form of greatness. If we could come to appreciate the meaning of life as creative striving with love, we would be preparing ourselves to take on a new outlook toward the phenomenon of change, unquote. A new outlook and a change in the spirit of our work in philanthropy is required. A change in what we teach, coach, and measure in our profession. The strategy, the techniques, the methods, and the metrics for a qualitative relationship-based model of philanthropy will ensue from dialogues such as this. We owe it to ourselves and our benefactors to explore further the why for giving rather than just the how or what. For in the end, I contend that philanthropy has little or nothing to do with money and everything to do with meaning in a well-examined life. To end, one of my favorite poets, Antonio Machado, the great Spanish poet, said, "Traveler, your footprints are the path and nothing more. Traveler, there is no path. The path is made by walking." So I ask you today, shall we begin a new path? And what better fellow travelers could we find than the Lake Institute and the Center on Philanthropy? Thank you for your attention.
Jim, you began your address by painting for us the picture of an orchestra and a symphony. And as we all know, when we go to the symphony in time, the music stops and the conductor steps down from the podium. I find that when that music has stirred my soul and somehow sparked my passion, there's something inside me that always yearns for something more. And on occasion, that yearning is met by what we call an encore. And tonight, we are blessed with an encore because, Jim, you have stirred our souls, sparked our passions, our imaginations. And I'd like to invite Janie Maurer, Jerry Nunnally, and Angela White to join Jim here for a conversation. As you're making your way, may I just introduce our conversation partners tonight. Janie Maurer is a local civic leader. She is a philanthropist for the arts, health, Jewish charities, the elderly, and education. Janie and her husband, Mickey, are the generous benefactors of the Mahler School of Law at Indiana University, Bloomington. Jerry Nunnally began his career in development at Dartmouth College. He moved from there to Harvard, where he was the director of the corporation and foundation. And then he moved to Caltech, where he was vice president for institute relations and director of development, and is now back at Dartmouth, where he is currently the senior philanthropic advisor. Jerry is also an esteemed member of the advisory board of the Lake Institute. Our moderator is Angela White. She is a consultant for philanthropy and nonprofit fundraising. She is the current CEO of Johnson, Grossnickel & Associates. She has also served in senior management positions for institutional advancement and development at the University of Indianapolis and St. Mary's of the Woods. Angela is also an esteemed member of the fundraising school faculty here at the Center on Philanthropy. Let the music continue.
All right. Thank you, Bill. We want to have a conversation, and I'm very pleased to be here to moderate and to say just a couple words, and that's really how we want this to move today. I'm going to ask Janie and Jerry to respond to Jim's remarks and to lead us off, and then we really want to engage you in the conversation. Today's session is being taped, and so when you do have a question in a moment, when we get to that point, please wait for a microphone to come to you, and there are runners who will bring you a microphone, as I understand that, so we can make sure to capture your question on the tape, okay? So many of you I know, and you know that I spend my day-to-day life kind of chasing around capital campaigns, right, from one stage to the next. And so as I was listening to Jim's remarks, I'm challenged to think about moving from closing a gift to creating that passion transplant, you know. I'm challenged to think about moving from talking about our needs to expressing our highest hopes and aspirations, that model shift in how we talk about what we do. And I'm challenged to think about moving from viewing ourselves as askers to change agents and change makers. And so many of the pieces resonate deeply with me in terms of the work that I do, and I'd like to ask Janie and Jerry to talk about what resonated with them, what challenged them in their unique roles in philanthropy.
Well, Jim, I'd like to say from the beginning, to continue the music metaphor, I was on the board of an orchestra for many years, and I made my wife painfully sit through Wagner.
White loves Wagner.
You were much more musical. But having said that, your points about passion, core values, and understanding your audience, and bringing people along certainly resonates with me. I was thinking about, as you were talking, man I worked with when I was in California, and he made a very, very significant gift to an organization I was with. And when the gift was announced, the reporters came in and they asked, why'd you make the gift? He made the gift a month after 9/11. He said, to give the young people hope. And someone asked me one day, so how long did that gift take? I said, 50 years. It was a lifelong relationship. The actual process of getting to yes was probably 5 years. So I endorse what you're saying about relationships. I've had many times that I've asked donors that I've worked with, depending on the age and where they were in their careers, if you fast forward the end of your career, what would you want your legacy to have been? And it is amazing. They talk about it. They talk about it. And if they're older, I said, I will ask, did you achieve your legacy? And so I say amen to your entire talk, and thank you so much.
Judy?
I think your talk was wonderful. and I think that what you have wonderful things that you said, but on the other hand, I think that we, in our city, we had a gentleman who was wined and dined, and he was giving a gift to one of our institutions here, the Palladium, and just as they were closing on it, he had an illness, and his wife came in and said, no, I've decided that it isn't going there. So I think that while you're saying one thing, that I think timing is everything, and you can't always go slowly. Sometimes you just...
Right, I wouldn't recommend 27 winters in Minnesota. There's a happy medium somewhere. Thank you. I think that's a good, I think what you, I think the idea is not that it doesn't have to be slow, or that it doesn't have to take a lifetime, but that it's at the pace or that the benefactor and their family in this case determines is the right pace. A lot of people say, wow, that's really interesting, Jim, but you know, I actually have to raise money on Monday. That's really, wow, that's a great idea. But I would say that throughout a career, a long career, I've seen people who have been far more generous than you would have expected because they were treated from the get-go. Transactional gifts, small gifts, everyone should be treated with the I-thou relationship. So we ripen at different stages, I would say.
I think each situation has its own story, and you have to examine it and move along in that.
I agree. We say each individual or engagement is a campaign in and of itself.
Let's have one more question to our panel, and then we'll open it up. In that realm that Janie brings us into the reality of the day-to-day work of philanthropy, how does this challenge you in the day-to-day? You know, as Jim said, I've got to raise money on Monday. You know, I have a campaign cabinet meeting on Tuesday. So how do we bring this more? How do we shape it into the day-to-day? And today I had a phone call from a person who said to me, my CEO said, well, now you have met this person twice, ask for the big gift. So in that case, in the person's eyes who called me, it was moving too quickly. You know, we've met you twice. Now go for it. What are we waiting on? You know. So how do we engage those around us in our work to understand this relationship piece too? I guess. So keep us in the moment. And,
well, I think what's important. There are gifts that are more transactional. I can't wait to ask someone to participate in something that's meaningful or to make the first gift. I can't wait for that moment because the stewardship related to that gift will bring a lot of joy. And you know, I found a funny thing about humans. Once people experience joy, they tend to want to experience it another time. And so we invite people to become part of the philanthropic fabric at Mayo, and we do that when it's appropriate and early to get the first gift to bring the joy to our work.
It's also the right person asking.
I think it is absolutely the right person. I think Gladwell in his book, The Tipping Point, said, and I use it with people in the business, you know, there's no whining. I practice no whining philanthropy. It is your job to mine your organization for the sticky messages and the contagious messenger. And maybe the only practical takeaway today is that it may not be your dean or your president or the chair of the board, but that's your problem. You have to find the contagious messenger and the person that will resonate with the benefactor.
If I could, I don't want to leave people with the impression that the small gifts are not important. I remember some years ago, not unlike you, Jim, Bob Brown, who was the founder of Kirsten Brown consulting firm, gave a talk similar to what you had given. And we were talking a little bit about this in the board meeting today, we were talking metrics. The fact that in that day, he was talking about 10% of the people gave 90% of the money, and 90% of the people get 10% of the money. So I chased him down. I was fairly young. I was all of 24, I think, at the time.